All right, folks, we're back, and I haven't uploaded a video in ages, so I needed to get one out, and my painting video is taking a while, so everyone loves a list, and that is why I am doing my favorite comics of all time. Now, disclaimer, my opinion, so argue with me if you want. This is really hard for me to put a ranking to it, so I made 800 honorable mentions. Not really. We're gonna start with Batman Year One as my first honorable mention. It's kind of a classic Batman story. It's all about Jim Gordon and the police force in Batman kind of figuring out his role in Gotham. And what's interesting about this book is the art style is really cool. The story kind of focused more on the police. Classic story. I love Jim Gordon emphasis. I love the police force being so corrupt and just Jim Gordon kind of coming from Chicago and really kind of laying it down. The OG Spider-Man and Spider-Man Blue are some of my favorite Spider-Man stories of all time. I'm not a big Marvel reader, but besides those, it's one of the few series of the OG, just Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. Spider-Man, I pretty much have read almost all the way through. Really like it. The early stuff's campy, but it's pretty good. Spider-Man Blue is Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, which is my all-time group, and you'll see them a lot on this list. Kind of recalls the story of Gwen Stacy dying, and it's just so emotional. It's like he's writing a letter to her and she's died, and he's talking about all the times he wished he could have been better. And that's one of the best parts about Spider-Man is just, he's really trying to, it's a balancing act. And I think with everyday life, a lot of people can relate to that character. It's Batman No Man's Land. One of my favorite early comics. It's all about how Gotham had an earthquake and then it kind of gets declared martial law, so all these villains are trying to take over different space in Gotham, and same with the police. And wow, it's just good. It's just good. Batman Nightfall is another good one. Daredevil and Green Arrow are, some of their series alone are just very good. I enjoy those characters a lot, so I kind of put them in the category of just their comics in general. I really like Green Arrow. And Green Arrow kind of has a lot to do with my love for Batman. I love a superhero that has no powers because it just feels a little more relatable, and yet they're rich. So, like that. Daredevil, he's blind, so it's just sweet that all his other senses are enhanced. Sandman, not really a superhero comic, but just kind of the father of dreams. It's so psychedelic. Neil Gaiman, and the illustration and the art is some of my favorite of all time. I love those books. They are so inspirational to me. They're very philosophical. They're kind of hard to read, and sometimes you won't understand the story, but it just hits so deep when you resonate with one. Actually, kind of two. All-Star Superman and then Superman for All Seasons. All-Star Superman, Grant Morrison, it's all about Superman dying and the things he's got to do before he passes away because he gets a disease, and just shows how much Superman means to people. He might be a basic character, but I think at the end of the day, Superman represents humanity and the hope that people have, and just that someone with so much power can be so good and so kind-hearted because he grew up from a farmland. He grew up in Kansas, or Smallville, Kansas, I think it's technically. Superman for All Seasons is very similar, but it's Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, which is my favorite writing duo of all time, writing comic duo. What a book. It talks about different parts of Superman's life, and it goes through, I think it starts in fall, and then winter, and then spring, and then summer. And it's really special. And the colors, oh man, it's like watercolor. It's just, I love the art on a lot of this. Now we're here. Now we're at the 5. So sorry for the long honorable mentions, but here we go. Legends of the Dark Knight. I did not think I was going to enjoy this as much as I did, but they're very one-off stories about Batman and kind of early in his career, and I just love that. And it's a different villain. It's like a villain of the week, and usually it can be a one-off story or a 3-off story. But there's some good stories with Joker and Hugo Strange and just random villains, and I just love that. And I love the the detective aspect of Batman's character. It's one of my favorites ever. Number 4, Dark Knight Returns. This one everyone talks about, you know, it's Frank Miller, and it's a grittier version of Batman. He's old. He's no longer doing it. He comes out of retirement because Joker comes out of, well, actually, he comes out of retirement first to stop these mutants, and then Joker comes out of retirement and does this insane thing, like insane. And I think the Joker movie totally took some of that. It's really good. And the first part is probably my favorite part, and then the second part is Batman and Superman fighting, also a good part. And just darker, grittier art style, really good storytelling, just really dark, and kind of dives into like the political aspect of like Gotham and like our superheroes good. And you'll see that I have another thing coming up that I really enjoy, that kind of dialogue in a comic book. Number 3, Gotham Central. Gotham Central is such a good book because I think what makes Batman such a strong character is his villains, and Gotham City as a whole, it's like its own character. So Gotham Central focuses on the police force completely, and there is Batman in it, but it's very like, it's how it should be, where like, you know, a lot of these crimes are getting figured out without him, but sometimes if you need him, he's there. And I just love that. There's a really good story with Two-Face, scary story with Mr. Freeze and Joker. The art style is a lot more realistic. It's not as campy, and just corruption and police force. And I just really enjoy it. I could reread it constantly. Number 2, one I'm rereading right now, Watchmen. Watchmen is by Alan Moore. Is one of the best comic books of all time. I mean, it is a graphic novel kind of. It kind of started the graphic novel trend, talking about, you know, superheroes. It like The Boys, like, is totally off of Watchmen, and it's about these bad superheroes and how they got banned from society during the Nixon era. And it's so good because, you know, there's this battle of like, there's the smartest hero of all time, and he has to make a decision that, you know, it saves lives, but it really destroys lives. And I just think that kind of trade-off is so good in a book because it puts you in their shoes. And if you had that power, what would you do? Art style is so cool, and it's just out of this world. Rorschach. I think it's Rorschach. I can't say it. Okay, I can't say it. The scene when Rorschach is in prison and he puts the fryer on someone is one that I'll never forget. It's disgusting. It's gross. And I just love that he's like, what you don't remember is you're in here with me. And he's just, you know, he's like intimidating all these prisoners because it's like, oh, you think you're going to get to me? No, this is my game now. So great book, great ending. That's something where the movie ending is different from the comic book ending, but for good reason too, you know, movie budgets. Number 1, what I got tattooed on my arm is The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. Another Batman story. What a surprise. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. What a book. I'm including Dark Victory is the sequel, and it's basically a Two-Face origin story, but it's also Batman early in his career of figuring out this calendar killer who's taking out people on every holiday. So he goes to the Calendar Man, who is such a good Batman villain and kind of just campy, to kind of figure out like who's doing this. Why are they attacking crime families? Like the Falcones are involved, and same with the Maronis. And I just love the aspect of a crime family being involved in Gotham City because it makes sense, you know? It makes sense that there's supervillains and then there's crime families that are also kind of scraping off the top. The art style, Tim Sale's art style is one of my favorite ever. It's very like noir, negative space, very dark, and it's just something that to look at is a work of art. The colors are insane, always insane. And I just love the detective aspect of the story where he is figuring it out, he's falling behind. And yeah, The Dark Knight is really inspired from this because it's all about, you know, Two-Face, well, Harvey Dent, Jim Gordon, and Batman working together to stop crime in Gotham City. And they totally took that off this, and for good reason too. So good, like my favorite comic ever for a good reason. So entertaining. You never and honestly, I'll reread it and I'll pick up on things that, you know, I didn't before, and I just think it's such a beautiful comic and so enjoyable to read. So that's my favorite comic of all time. So yeah, this has been my list of top 5 comics plus 800 honorable mentions. If you liked like a list type thing, leave a like, comment, come subscribe to my YouTube channel, man. What are you missing out on? You're not missing out on anything if you press that button. Thank you. I'm hoping to come out with new videos soon. I'm working on some paintings. You know, summertime, I'm just outside. I'm just trying to get my raise. Playing a lot of tennis. So thank you. Hope you have a great week. Happy Thursday. Peace.